Hello everyone, it's Bubbly401 back with another live show help tip video. So this video is going to be all about model horse references because I know that that is an aspect of live showing that a lot of people struggle with, so I'm here to offer my assistance. References are really something that it just takes a learning curve to get the hang of it, and everybody has a different way that they prefer to approach references, and everybody has a different way that their references look overall in the end. So this is just to help you get started and help you kind of understand what a reference is all about. So I have a couple examples here. I'm going to start off with my breed reference examples. I'm going to talk about what you should include in your reference, what the images should look like, where you should find the images, and that sort of thing. So to start off, you can kind of have two different types of references. You can have them be larger or have them be smaller. It just depends on what you prefer personally when you're showing. So I prefer to have some of my traditional models have full page references, and then some of them have like kind of half page references. Especially my stablemates and other smaller models, I try to give them half a page so they don't take up as much space on the table. So this is an example of one of my full page references. I just use a plastic paper sleeve to stick them in. And on my references, I like to include a couple key pieces of information. Those key pieces of information include the breed name and then where that breed originates, because that is important information, especially for you as the entrant to have, to help you decipher where your model should be placed in the class list sometimes, because they will split up different divisions and different sections like sport into European sport breeds and American sport breeds, or British draft, other European draft, and American draft. Like those might be split up in that way, and ponies as well are usually split up that way. So to know the country of origin of the breed in which you are referencing is important to help you plan out your class list. I also usually include the average height, a little bit less important, but I still include it. And then I include the characteristics of the breed, and the characteristics include the breed standard. So when you are looking and for the information to put on your reference, I really encourage that you try to find the breed standard from an official breed website. With this particular breed, I could not find one, so I used Wikipedia, which I do not normally recommend. I have to say that the horse breed information is probably safe from people going in and changing it, but I don't recommend Wikipedia if you can find another source. But for other breeds, such as the American Saddlebred, Pasafinos, North American Spotted Draft, those breeds, American Quarter Horses, those breeds you might find an actual written breed standard on. So I include the characteristics of the horse, and that usually goes over what does the neck look like, what does the head look like, what does the body look like. And it's also important to be able to read a breed standard and understand the language that is being used. So to understand horse conformation and all of the points on a horse, so you can apply that to your model and really see if it's a good fit for your model. So besides the characteristics portion with the breed standard, and that should be from a reputable source, you then have to get images for your reference. I usually just use Google Images, but the big thing with using Google Images is you need to go to the actual page that the image is from and really ensure that that image is of the breed that you're trying to reference. Sometimes, with Google, images will pop up, and just the other day, I was looking at, I want to say it was Buckskin Tobiano American Saddlebreds because of the new Stablemate Club release, and there were pictures popping up of Tennessee walking horses and warm bloods and other pictures that I knew that they weren't American Saddlebreds, but somebody who might not realize. That would be where you need to actually go to where the image is sourced from and make sure that it's of the breed that you're trying to reference. And also, if your model does have any brands that are of importance, it's nice to include about the brand in your reference as well. So Gigi Valentine has the Mecklenburg brand on her hip, and I like to include that brand because for me, as a judge and as an entrant, I can't see her as being shown as anything else because she has the brand of the Mecklenburg breed. And then beneath everything, I put a source. I just recently started doing this because if I do end up going to BreyerFest and I go to the BreyerFest Open Show, they really encourage people to have sources on their references, and it's just good so that you didn't take any of the information, saying, hey, this is my source, it isn't mine, this is where I got my information from. And I source my characteristics portion, not my pictures. But so that's one example, and this is for a traditional model. But then if you have a smaller model, you might want to have a reference picture, like a reference like this. So I do the same thing, the breed, the region of origin, and the characteristics, and I just put the height at the end of the characteristics on this one. And then I just included 3 pictures, and usually when I do half a page, I just do 3 pictures kind of lined up side by side like that. This is an older reference, so I do not have the source on the bottom, but I would probably redo it and do the source on the bottom, like I've been doing with some of my others. So this is what a breed reference looks like, and now I'm just going to quickly move on to some other references, such as collectability and color references. I apologize for my dog barking in the background. So this is what a stone collectability reference looks like. So the nice thing with stone is that there's a little website called stonehorseref.com, like reference, but the short parts are ref, and you can look up your stone model, and if you can find it, then you can literally just print out the collectability, like everything is there, and you just print it out and cut it out and laminate it. So that's what I do with my stone models. And then for my Breyer models, because we have identifier Breyer, but there's no really good way to print that out and make it look as nice as the Stone Horse Ref does. So I just go and identify my Breyer and take the information and just write it up in a blank Word document, and then print it out and cut it out and put it on the back side of an index card, and then laminate it. So this is my collectability reference for my Carlisle model. Please, it's recommended that you only do collectability references for models that are collectible, so like regular runs don't really need one. I do have one for my Gigi Valentine model because she's glossy and only 1 in every 6 sets was glossy, so like something like that you might want to note, but otherwise regular runs don't really need collectability documentation, just models that have a limited number of them made. So like BreyerFest special runs, celebration models, raffle models, one of a kind models, connoisseur, web specials, those guys should have collectability reference. And then I also have here a color reference for one of my Ishes, because he's kind of a mix between these 2 colors, like a minimal Avero with Sabino. So I just talked about how the Sabino Avero Pinto pattern is produced and looks like him, and I just put this with him with his collectability reference. So again, if you're going to do a color reference, I didn't do it on this one, but I would normally just cite it, and usually you can find what colors are allowed in a breed with the breed standard. So try to find, again, that site with the actual official breed standard of the breed, and just cite that, but only list, like, the colors allowed, and try to find realistic pictures of, like, that breed with the color that you're referencing. So finally, the other portion of this is you can make your own references. That's great. I encourage it. But sometimes you can also find decent references in books. So you can sometimes use books in a show. These size books I would recommend. Like, these guys are fine to just take this and lay this out next to your horse if it's of a particular breed, and just like put a sticky note, like a little arrow sticky note or something, and note that like this is the breed that I'm referencing. This one is great as well. And then I have this other little pocket one over here. So any of these size would work. Buckskin's not a breed, by the way, it's a color. But any of those size would work. The issue is when people use a book like this. This book I would not recommend, because it just takes up way too much table space. You have to keep in mind when you're showing your models that you don't want to take up a lot of table space, because you want to leave room for other people to put their horses on the table, and especially with like BreyerFest and other shows that have a lot of horses in one class, they need all that table space. That's why I try to keep my collectability references small, and my breed references small if I can, and sometimes bigger, but then paired with this, it's really not taking up that much room instead of like 2 pieces of paper or something, which is technically what you're doing when you open up this big honking book and you set that out to reference your horse. Like, now you're taking up basically two 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper instead of one with a little tiny collectability reference or something. So, great to get your information from. You can use this when writing your references like this, but don't take this entire book. Only take books of this size. But yeah, so that's pretty much the end of my references rant. If you have any other further questions on references, please comment them down below. And I really hope that this helps you guys when creating your references. And again, it's always a learning curve, but you'll get there and you'll improve as the years go on. So I'll see you in my next video. Have an awesome afternoon. Bye, guys.